Hello, everyone, and welcome to Turn Extension, a advanced maneuvers podcast. And right now, it's me, Polar Bear Cub.
I'm Dowdark.
I'm Solus.
All right, and what we're going to be doing over the course of today is we're going to just talk a little bit about what the podcast is going to be about going forward. Kind of introduce ourselves just a little bit. We're going to catch up on Nova Open, where Dark and Solus will talk a little bit about what they kind of did there, and then wrap it up with some future lists. And finally, some questions from you guys. So, starting off, what this podcast is about. So, beforehand, we had a podcast, Turn Extension, and kind of what we did before was talk a little bit about our previous. What did we talk about?
Classy.
Talk a little bit about our old.
So the original Turning Extension, I think we actually had 2 episodes, maybe 3. The original design came about because we had people who were like, well, we want some thoughts about your game after you played it, which, we were already running tight on time on our video battle reports, so we decided to stand up a podcast. That was horrible. Horrible idea.
For some reason, they thought it'd be a good idea to, ask us a question. And
well, they ask us,
and letting me talk about how I play this. Yeah,
you play this game?
Apparently, that's the rumor anyway.
Okay.
I mean, you play a little bit.
I mean, I put models on the table and I throw dice at them. That's the same thing as playing the game, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much. I mean, you do play Legion a lot, so you're kind of a dick.
Hey, I don't read so good, so playing Legion means I don't have to read half the rulebook.
Anyways, okay, so we used to talk about our previous things that we did on the last couple of battle reports, pretty much. So from there, we kind of decided to put the podcast on the side for a while because that really wasn't a format that we were terribly excited about. So kind of going forward now, really, this podcast, we're just going to be talking about a bunch of different things. We're going to be asking, our subscribers, you guys, just let us know anything you want to hear about. There'll be, right now, we have about 8 members of the Advanced Universe podcast. So there's myself, Solus, and Dowdark on here. We also have Gaston, Fort, War Machinist, Iron Lich W, and finally Pokey. So that's our 8 members. All right, so first, I don't know, so let's talk a little bit about yourself. Not too much, because we're going to go into more of that at some point, at another episode later on.
Do what now?
Tell us about yourself. Just, briefly, like, what type of list you play, all that fun stuff.
I play this game? Really?
Yeah, enough. What factions do you pretend to play whenever Dowdark is painting your stuff?
So I kind of pretend to play. Oh shit! I did. I more or less pretend to play Legion. I own Crix. And I play Convergence, kind of. And then I picked up a mystery faction just recently. So that's pretty much what I play.
Exciting. What about you, Dowdark? What are you playing lately? One of them 50 armies.
I actually don't know the answer to that question. Prior, I was playing Trolls pretty religiously, and then with the recent War Machine book, I've been trying to look for a War Machine faction, and I've tried everything from Signar, Khador, Retribution. I didn't touch Convergence. I did play Ret once or twice. Yeah.
Wait, you played Ret? When did you play
Yeah,
Ret?
I took it to a tournament. I took Viros 2 and Iron Man a tournament with just the Viros 2 Griffin spam list.
How did that even work out for you? Was it exciting?
I went 2-2. It was kind of okay. It was kind of cool. It's a little hard to be excited about a tournament where you go with a list and your first and second round opponents were like direct counters to your list. But hey, they have 2 lists to choose from. I only had 1, so it's my own damn fault.
Why did you go there with only 1 list? Did Solus only give you 1, model?
It was the only list I had any thought or logic experience behind it. And it was the only list that I had the majority of the models for. I had to borrow an Imperatus and 2 Griffins, but I had everything else.
That's ridiculous. But okay.
It was. I mean, the Griffin spam list is really the only list that draws me towards. I take that back. I do like the Raven. I'm going to shoot you to death with bolts of arrows. But I'm not going to buy 30 Mage Hunter Strike Force just to try and field that list once or twice. So I just went with the Griffin one because that was the one that attracted me the most. I tend to draw towards the lists that have lots of spamming stuff. Like I was really excited about Bradagus before it became hot, the Griffin spam, the Butcher 2 with all the Doom Reaver spam. If there's anything, or the Gorshade 2 with all the Bane thralls. I mean, anything that takes one thing and goes, I want them all, I am usually drawn towards.
Hey Kevin, there's a faction that has that. Actually, it has 2 casters in that faction that allows you to take it all.
No, not really.
And what faction would this be, Polar Bear?
Clearly, it's Convergence, which is what you should fucking play.
Except for that, I maybe I stand alone in this, but I am not a fan of the models for that. I mean, with PP's conversion policies changing, that might be different now, but I just have never been a fan of the aesthetics of that army.
I mean, I agree with you. I absolutely hate the way the army looks. But man, Axis is such a beast. He's so much fun to play.
Yeah. And then you come up against recursion denial, and you just absolutely die.
I mean, that's why you don't play Axis into recursion denial. I mean, that's when you drop out the Lucant or Syntherian.
Yeah, maybe.
Get out of here. You're no fun. I love that faction. I actually almost want to start playing that faction again, but I'm really liking Signar again.
You would have to play the game to actually be able to play the faction, and I'm not sure that you're ready to commit to that.
Hey, look, don't cloud the issue with facts. I am actually going to start PGing up here. There is a store literally 3 minutes away from me where they do not have a regular night. So after I come back from Tennessee, I plan on jumping in there and actually trying to create a group until I go overnight and lose track of everybody in November.
So what you're saying is you move away from us, and then now you want to be a PG? Seems suspect.
That is hurtful. All right, that is hurtful. For your information, I definitely ran a game back in July. So there. It was a whole tournament, 4 rounds.
That was back in July. What have you done for us lately?
Cried a lot.
No, not gonna accept that.
All right, let's shift gears. Let's jump into Nova Open. So, Dark and Solus, you guys were at Nova Open. You guys were there for how many days?
Well, we were Thursday for a little bit, walking around, and then we were there. Friday, pretty much all day, and then yeah, Saturday pretty much all day, and Sunday pretty much all day.
I don't remember much of Sunday.
Yeah. It's probably best not to ask us too much about.
Wait, about Sunday or about the entire event?
Well, so
yes.
So the way it works out is that we had covered a Nova Open in 2014. At the time, we only had one camera rig.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely one.
And no mics, so it was like a camera and an audio box that was picking up everything in the room. You can tell because on one of the videos in our 2014 coverage, you can actually hear the people collapsing the tables down and just clanging the tables together in the background. It was horrible. So we decided to improve our audio quality, and we went out and got lapel mics. And through the time period, we got another camera and another audio box with some more lapel mics. So we were actually able to this year run the coverage for 2 tables, which is good because then you get to see the final table and the semifinals on most of the things.
We got all fancy.
We did. But we'd reached out to the Nova Open group and was like, hey, you guys are in our backyard. Are you copacetic with us, covering you guys again? They were all excited about it. So they brought us on board again. And we what events did we cover again, Solus?
Hardcore, Iron Gauntlet, and Masters.
That's right. So Hardcore was Friday, Iron Gauntlet was Saturday, Masters was Sunday, and these are all-day affairs. I mean, well, I shouldn't say all day. They start at like 8 o'clock in the morning and go until, I think most of them went till 6, except for Hardcore.
All I know is I showed up on Friday, and I didn't leave the building until 30 in the morning on Saturday.
So it was a really, really good day for you.
And then I was back at the venue at like 7:45. So yeah, that was great.
Yeah, we ended up covering Hardcore. We tried covering all of the tournaments that had packets to them. So Hardcore packets, Iron Gauntlet packet, and SteamWorld packet for Masters. and we did hardcore, but unfortunately, hardcore started at 6 o'clock at night.
Yes.
So
It started at 1800, and we didn't get done until about 03, which meant that with breakdown and everything, we didn't leave the building until about 03:30.
yeah, so yeah, started at 6, went till 3 o'clock in the morning. That was a fun time. I mean, we got to experience a lot of the high end players, and that's one of the advantages of recording is that yes, we are there recording. We're not getting any games in, but we get a lot, and I mean a lot of watch machine of high level players. Obviously, anybody who watches the videos when we post them on the channel will also get that and not be sleep deprived as a result of it. But it's nice to sit down and watch high level players and get to talk to them about what they did and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we had like Triboga, Jordan Knock, and then like Trevi the Great as some of the people on there.
Yep. Yeah. And unfortunately, I mean, you end up getting to experience in the videos some of the antics that happen at stupid o'clock at night when people are trying to play a high or a quick time, high intensity, hardcore game on minimal to no sleep. When people are playing the game and they're like, I forgot what I was doing.
Yep.
So, Dowdark, how many videos do we end up getting?
How do you remember Solus?
Used videos or total videos?
Total videos. Total videos for all the events.
Total videos, I think, was 27, and usable was 25, 26.
Wait, usable. What happened to the other two?
So
there was an issue.
Yeah, so what ends up happening is when we go to tournaments, and this is something that's consistent with everything that we do when it comes to recording, is we respect our players that are on the camera, but then we also want to respect their privacy as well and some of their concerns that they may have. So what ends up happening is when you see the videos that we post up from tournaments, we'll always have privateer press forum names on there. This goes back to an issue that happened within the community back in 2014, and I'm not going to get into the details of it. Basically, what ended up happening was
suffice it to say, this is why we can't have nice things.
something happened on a video, and the internet community, the vocal minority of people who tend to take things to an extreme or just are I don't want to call them bad people, but really they are
affectionately known as keyboard commandos. They don't
Or
have the balls to
douchebags.
actually...
Definitely
Yeah.
douchebags.
No, it's the people who don't have the balls to actually go out to an actual competitive event, and then when stuff gets posted online, they want to dissect it and look for every little mistake, and then call people out for it. They've effectively ruined the community.
Well, and I think the issue is too is like it's not bad to call things out because I mean I've been called out on a couple things on my video. I think it's just the way you approach it. It's like, hey, if you call it out for like, hey, just let you guys know you messed up. It's a completely different thing if you go on a witch hunt. Like that's where shit gets crazy.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. Was the issue was that people knew of this individual's real name, and they ended up tracking his family down. So it wasn't even a case of they went after the player; they went after the player's family. And that is a huge issue. And to prevent that, we've decided that we're no longer going to post people's real names. I know some people are frustrated with that because when they're looking to watch videos, they're looking to watch a certain player, but we're not going to put another player at risk of another encounter like that. Even something to a lesser degree is unacceptable to us. So we put up PP forums so that way there is a bit of an anonymity to their individuality, but then at the same time, we're still providing people an avenue so that should they want to reach out to this person to say, hey, I saw this in this video, or hey, can you help me with this? Or hey, can you tell me what was going through your mind when you were doing this in this video? They can do it through the PP forums. And then there's the anonymity of not their real name. The individual has the PP forums to use as leverage should a troll or somebody come along to try and cause issues. So that's why we went the PP forums. But the other thing that we do is as we're playing games, there are some situations that we'll recognize that we have to ask people, and this is something that Nova Open requires, but we do it anywhere we go, is we always ask for consent of our players to be on video. And that's are you okay with being on video? We're not going to put faces on or anything like that, but you will be on video. So people such as like Solus who have sleeves, tattoos, they become easily identifiable, and we want to make sure that people are okay with that potentiality. But the other big thing is that we want to get the consent with them, and then there are some individuals who can't. For we are in the DC area, so there's a lot of people in our area who, for security reasons or clearance reasons, cannot have any association on the internet between their personal and exposure on the internet. So we had some players who said, I'm sorry to do this to you, but we can't be on video because of certain issues. And then we have had other players who were extremely concerned about, though they may have been okay with being on video, they were extremely concerned about the issues of what happened in the video, and that they would be subject to a witch hunt by the community. So as a result, even though we may have gotten their video, they had said, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this going out because something happened and this will probably cause issues in the community. Do you mind if you don't post that? And again, going back to that consent thing, if at any point in time somebody says, I'm not comfortable with this video being posted, we have to respect their wishes and not post it. Will the community be upset that they missed out on that video? Maybe, but we have to respect the players as players and respect the fact that their wishes are not to be posted, so we're not going to do it.
Yes, and once again, this is why we can't have nice things.
Damn straight. So, I guess before we finish up with Nova, did you guys see anything that was exciting there? Did you guys, obviously you guys walked around and you watched a lot of games. I don't know, was there any, list or any factions pointing at you, Dow Dark, that you might have been excited for afterwards?
Well, I'll let Solus go first before I go on to my diatribe.
You have a diatribe? Really?
I do.
Shit's gonna get intense.
Oh, dear. Well, so there's been a sort of, vocal minority asking us, or asking somebody on the channel, I don't really think they cared who it was, but they wanted to see Retribution on the channel. And as our regular viewers know, we don't have a Retribution player on the channel. I tried Retribution, 3 years ago? Something like that. And did not do well with it. I just couldn't get it to click, so I put it down. And then after playing Legion for 2.5 years straight now, I think I know what I was doing wrong. And then talking to some friends at the Nova Open, they got me excited about Retribution again. So I may or may not have a Retribution army in the house now.
That's amazing. That's really exciting.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, there's a couple of lists that I want to try out for Retribution, and I don't necessarily think that I'm going to do well with them or do poorly with them. I mainly just want to play them and see where it goes.
That'll be exciting. So you try to get in a couple games in the next few weeks, and then if you're comfortable enough with them, hopefully we'll get them on the channel soon. That'll be pretty nice to see that. But that's exciting that you're going back into Retribution after a few years.
I still have to paint them, so it might be a minute. But we'll have Retribution on the channel at some point in the future here.
Just prime them white, and that should be okay.
No.
Nope.
So mean.
I can prime them white and then put an ink wash over them, right? That counts as painted, right?
Dude, that's
three color minimum and based.
Wait, and based? Oh man, that's not good.
You and your rules.
Sorry, we provide a video content. We provide something that people want to look at. They don't want to look at bare metal or primered models. Suck it up, Buttercup.
But they do it for the other videos.
Yeah, and you allow it at tournaments.
I can't stop it at tournaments. I'm not the person running it. This is why I'm not allowed to be a PG, because I'd run tournaments and they'd be like, but painting's not in the tournament packet. And I'll be like, yes, it is in my tournament. Do it or get out.
The Dow Dark tournaments. Do it or get out. I like that. That's a good phrase.
So, and to carry on with the discussion that Sheridan just had, I blame all pointy elf-eared pain and suffering that Solus is about to inflict on the advanced maneuver community solely and 100% on Burger Fed's shoulders. So if you're listening, Burger, it's all your fault, and I hate you for it.
Wait, why is it... Wait, Burger Fed was there at Nova Open?
Yeah. Burger Fett was there. So talking to him and Nerd King Dan, they're the two that really sold me on getting back into Ret. So you can blame them for this.
All right, I'll 50-50 it, but I feel like most of it's I'm going to put on Burger because he's close by. So
I'm gonna go with hashtag not my fault.
Son of a bitch! I didn't know Burger was there. That's awesome.
How did you not see him there?
I don't think I saw him on Saturday.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was
He was
wandering
there?
around, so you might have missed him. I don't know.
I mean, let's be serious. I am pretty special of an individual, anyways.
Worst PG ever.
Dude, that's my title, and there was another PG that was trying to fight me for it, and I definitely went up to him multiple times. But I took the tape at one point, so no one could put the rankings up for the next round. Worst PG ever. Suck it.
how about just worst person ever?
Well, that's a little bit too far. That's hurtful. Just worst PG. It's not like I mean to be the worst PG. It just happens.
Hurtful, truthful. It's the same thing, right?
Whatever. All right, Dow Dark. What about your
That's
stuff?
not
What are you looking at post Nova Open?
Well, while I was at Nova Open, I had an opportunity to talk with Trevor the Great. I've actually met him. I met him at ECR earlier. We played a game, round 1 in our pod. He proceeded to beat the snot out of me, but that's what happens when you play against Trevor the Great. But I ended up, because I was recording, I got to watch, and most of the time when he was playing, I watched his games. And just, I don't know, it was one of those situations. I had the same experience when watching Cheraboga play with Crix. It's something about their play style. They're very meticulous in their movements and where things are going. And it's, I hate to use the word awe-inspiring, but it really feels that way. Like, just watching them do their armies is amazing. Like, everything was being placed perfectly. There was a couple times where I was looking at Trevi moving something and I was like, what are you doing? And then 2 turns later, I was like, oh, okay. He had thought about that 2 turns in advance. I'm like, what's my next model to move? So it was kind of really inspiring, and it was addictive enough that I started looking at Signar lists while I was at Nova Open, and what I could do, and looking at the 2 lists he brought. He brought an E. Haley list and a P Striker list. I had run something similar to P Striker, his P Striker list, but I liked his better because it was using more in faction models, because I was using Boom Howlers over his Storm Lances
And double storm walls.
Yeah, double storm wall. But it was really cool to watch and really inspiring. And after I was leaving, Sheridan was dealing with me. Unfortunately, he had to deal with it mostly. I was just Jones. Like, I was like, oh, Signar. I'm so in on Signar. I'm so excited about Signar. I'm going to play Signar. I'm going to do Signar. And then I got home and I looked at my Signar and I was like, nope, I'm out.
What? Why? Why were you out of it afterwards? I still do not understand this.
I'm having trouble finding a. I think it even extends to Hordes too. I'm having trouble finding a faction that I feel passionate about. I've played Trolls the longest, so they tend to be my, like, I need to play an army, so let me just go grab Trolls because they're familiar to me. But I'm really struggling to find an army that I feel passionate about, and so I have ADD, and it applies heavily across all the factions. I have faction ADD like it's no man's business. I own models in just about every faction in War Machine and Hordes in some level or another. Many of them I actually have multiple lists I can run in the factions, and none of them have spoken out to me and said, this is the army you want to play. Like, for Gaston, it's Menoth. When he puts his Menoth down, he is just, this is his army. This is his love. Scorn for Pokey, Circle for Fort. Legion is kind of spoken out amongst the masses for Solus. You have Signar. I just don't have that faction that I feel passionate about, that when I'm playing other factions, the only thing I'm thinking about is the faction that I left behind. I just don't have that, and I've been struggling with it heavily, and I thought maybe it was going to be Signar, and then I got home and I looked at my Signar and I was like, nope, I feel nothing for you. You were a cold mistress that I'll leave on the side of the street.
That's just sad. That makes me a little sad in my pants. Not gonna lie.
As much as I talk about it in jest, it's actually really frustrating, because I've gotten to the point, after listening to Solus beat it over my head for the past 2 years, that I've come to realize that the only way I'm going to really, really get competitively good in this game is to play a faction and just stick with that faction and grind it out and force it to grind it out. And I've got the cast who's got my back and willing to support me and keep me on task and make me play and get better and teach me how to be better. But I don't want to waste the time on a faction that I might 3 months from then just give up because I'm not happy with it, or I'm frustrated with it, or I'm just not feeling any passion for it. It's really frustrating not to have that thing that you can just attach to and go through the stormy weathers with.
So I guess the thing is though, are you looking for like to set you on that course? Is it the aesthetics? Are you looking for an aesthetically pleasing and then go from there? Because I mean, I feel like a lot of the armies have kind of really balanced out. Like Signar used to be just shooting, and now these. I mean, they're pretty much still just shooting. What am I talking about? Let's go with another faction that might be more well-rounded. But anyway,
well, I've heard that debate before about every faction has the ability to play any playstyle, and I completely agree that every faction in this game has the ability to play a playstyle in one way or another, in one list or another. But I don't think that's a true statement to say that that a faction can play all the playstyles at any point in time. Like, I
No,
think you're
not
bound to a list, not a
not even
faction.
a little bit. I mean, you have problems when you try and do something like that. I mean, you can play like a brick list for Signar. I mean, Trevi's double Stormwall P striker list is kind of an example of that, but it's really, really only a brick list for like one turn, and like, or at least a super brick list for one turn, and then it loses a lot of its protection, and then it becomes a matter of timing the feat turn to exactly the right moment so that your two Stormwalls don't die, because those are pretty much your list besides Storm Lances. So
I mean, even
with
his
no like multi-wound heavy infantry, you can't really say that Signar can play as a brick.
Well, I think they can, but I think it's a situation where even though they are trying to be a brick list, they're still dependent on shooting to win the game.
Yeah, to some
I
extent,
mean,
I would say yes.
Trevi's double Stormwall and Stormlances, when he was using those at Nova Open, there was a lot of shooting going on before everything actually got engaged and got in the thick of it.
Hmm.
So I think that factions still have their archetypes to them, and they have certain one-off lists that allow you to play those play styles. For my hunt, I'm looking for the total package. I'm not looking for the a one or two list. I had a phase where I was like jumping from list to list,
Phase.
and
You're still in that phase.
now I'm jumping faction to faction. It's even worse.
Yeah, so you're me like 3 years ago.
Yep. So I just I don't know how to describe it other than there's no faction that goes, this is Dowdark's faction. Trolls kind of feels like that, but I think that is more of a case of I've played them the most, so they're the more familiar, not necessarily the passion.
Well, I mean, there is something to be said for familiarity. So
yeah, and I mean, I think that's why for me, at least, why I go back to Signar so much because I'm not the best Signar player, and honestly, I feel like for me personally, a better Convergence player than Signar. But like Signar was a faction I started out with years ago, like back in Mark One, reading Lieutenant Alistair Kane's like fluff. That was the reason why I started playing War Machine, and I don't know. For me, it's a familiarity thing. Like I love Signar because that is the faction I started out with. That is the thing I spent all of my money on. I grew up through Mark One into Mark Two with Signar, and even though I'm not like particularly amazing with them, I don't know. It's just for me, it's a familiarity. Like I just love them, and like I don't know. I feel like Trolls is almost like that for you.
yeah, I mean, I kind of have the same thing with Crix too. I mean, I started the game with Crix back, Mark One, and I've bounced from faction to faction, but as the years have gone by, I find that I tend to always own a Crix army. I'm not terribly excited about playing them right now, just because I just don't have any real inspiration, at least for what I want to try. Denny 3 is interesting, but and it doesn't really push me to play her. And I will say that with Iron Lich W, the channel is fairly covered for cricks. So it is kind of nice because it lets me branch out and try other things like Retribution.
Yeah, assuming that he actually goes and plays again.
I mean, I've watched him play a couple of games with Denny 3, so it seems to be
He's
going okay.
he's got a Crix matchup coming out here soon, actually, between
Nice.
against him and Scorn.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's actually really exciting to see that he's coming up. All right. So what are you guys thinking for any future lists? Dog, why don't you tell us about your pooping list?
So before this cast started, they actually tried calling me while I was on the middle of the John, and I declined the request because I was actually in the middle of working on a list. It's something that's been kind of noodling around in my head for a while now.
It now. Okay.
What?
Working on a list.
Yeah, that's
that's what we're calling it now.
That's Dog. If that's the case, then I quote unquote work on a list multiple times a day.
Well, then you're a list professional.
You might get that looked at, depending on how often.
Dude, I love Derry. Derry does not love me. That's not my fault.
If you know this, it's kind of your fault.
Let's not cloud the issue with facts, okay? That's just rude.
Anyway.
So it's Karchev the Terrible list. I was playing him in the scramble that we just did on the cast, and I decided that since I played out my third game in the scramble and I'm now free of those two lists, that I would look at other Karchev potentials, because he was kind of a weird one. Like it was like this guy's kind of cool, really freaking easy to kill, but he's kind of cool. So it's Karchev the Terrible. And I was looking at the spell that he has, which is the Unearthly Rage. It gives you basically the boosted melee attack and damage rolls. And the fact that he only had 5 focus meant that he would probably cast that and that would be it. So he wouldn't be able to fuel jacks. So I was looking at some of the new jacks that came out, and I looked at the Mad Dog. And I think there might be something there, just because you've got a jack that run charges for free, and because of his spell has boosted hit and boosted damage. So it's pseudo focus. Each jack gets 2 attacks. If they're getting boosted hit, boosted damage underneath the spell, then he's basically for each jack generating 4 focus for free. And because they charge, it's technically a 5th focus. So these are all pseudo focus. They don't actually exist. They're just the benefit of the spell is the same equivalent as if assigned a focus.
Is that the one with shield guard, or is that the one that tramples?
Tramples.
Okay.
And that the trample is actually something else that I was looking at. And as a resident judge amongst our group, not judge by PP Judge, although you should be. Everybody who's listening to this, pressure Solus to become a privateer press judge.
That means I have to read the rule book.
I know it sucks. Is that he has the ability to run charge for free. Crusher means that he gains an additional die to trample attack rolls. And he can make trample power attacks without spending focus. So underneath Unearthly Rage, does this mean that not only is he getting boosted from Unearthly Rage, but he's getting additional from Crusher?
Yes.
So when he's trampling at 4 dice to hit, 3 dice to damage.
Yeah, and then he probably dies next turn.
No focus was spent.
Well, he's going to die next turn because it's Karchev.
The caster will die? Or?
Karchev is going to die next turn? That seems likely, but, you know. I would have to check the wording on both rules, but on the face of it, I would say yes. Because you get boosted attack rolls from Unearthly Rage, and the Mad Dog rolls an additional attack die for trample. So you can get boosted and additional die at the same time.
So
yeah. I'm looking it up right now while we're talking, just to see.
That was a kind of interesting scenario that I saw, because I was looking at it. I was like, well, these guys could really trample and hit even really high defense stuff. And I was actually looking at the fact that the unstable rule potentially is worthwhile with these guys. So in this list, to set this up, in this list I have 6 Mad Dogs, and that's because I can if I decide not to cast Unearthly Rage and put 3 focus on one of these Mad Dogs, then they can trample into the middle of a group, spend 3 focus doing boosted trample attacks or something like that, just basically whatever it needs to. It can also jerry rig to give it +2 speed on that trample. So, but basically just get it to spend 3 focus, run in the middle of some infantry, and then just explode. And anything within 3 inches is going to take about 14.
Yeah.
And that's 3 inches off of a large base model.
That's pretty exciting. And yeah, by the way, yep, it sounds like you're right. Mad Dog is an additional die on trample attacks, or on trample attacks. I think it said whatever the attack. It's on the attack, and Unearthly Rage gains boosted, so it should be 4 dice to hit, 3 dice damage. That's pretty. That's pretty cool.
And then originally the list actually had 8 Mad Dogs, but I took 2 of them out to put Beast 09 in, and that's just because kind of following akin to the Griffin spam where it has Imperatus at the end of it, I wanted to make sure that I had one heavy hitter in the list besides Karchev, because Karchev does have a POW 19 on his axe on Sunder, but I decided to put Beast 09 in to give me another POW 19 reach.
Yeah, and generally speaking, if Karchev is having to hit somebody, things have gone
went wrong.
terribly wrong.
Yeah. So, and then I have Silas in there because Silas will either give me the ability to upkeep sidearms or upkeep toe. Again, I'm just trying to create more pseudo focus. That way they're not having to put toe or sidearms up. Sidearms seems really good just because all of these Mad Dogs can base to base with each other, and then they become defense 12. I know it's just defense 12, but hey, it's better than 11.
Well, I think it's a big thing too. Is defense 12, and then also with the amount of armor, because they're pretty high armored, aren't they?
They are armor 18, and I think they have a grand total like 31 boxes for a 5-point jack.
God, that's really good for 5-point jack, I think.
Yeah, I mean it seems like they're fairly resilient. My only issue is with the question is, besides Beast and Karchev, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of hitting power. So if somebody can finagle a way to kill Beast, and then not really going to worry about it.
And that was actually a concern I had, which is why I dropped Lady Iona and Master Holt in the list. That way their 14s go to 16s, and then Beast goes to 21s with harm. And then to deal with so one of the things I was worried about was that people might gather up to prevent tramples, so you can't trample through if there's no place to put your base. So I put in basically the Widow Mark. Talking is great. The Widow Maker's care package, which is just a unit of Widowmakers and a Widowmaker marksman and their best friend Kel Baylock, and then just use their sniper ability to create my own landing points for the Mad Dogs to go in and explode or trample through and get 2 boosted hit, boosted damage, POW 16s with Kiss.
God, man, I hate the Widow marksman and that whole unit. I hate that unit so much. Every time when I was first starting and playing Signar against them, God, it's just so demoralized to be like, oh, hey, remove all these models. Haha. They shoot so far, and they AD, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you know what my next question is going to be, because, at least from my point of view, I tend to build lists in pairs, so that way I know about character restrictions and I go into it with a coherent idea of what I want the list to do. What are you pairing it with? Have you thought about that?
No, I haven't. I haven't really. I mean, maybe the ButcherBots list I've been running lately, but because this list is definitely going to have issues with really, really high armor stacking. That's obviously for sure. Butcher 3 can handle that, but the ButcherBots can handle that relatively okay. I've been looking at the Mad Dogs with the additional die due to Unearthly Rage, or just the fact that when they explode, you take a POW 14. I don't care what your defense is, as this maybe is a infantry / high defense skew pairing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds okay. I mean, like I've been trying to tell you for a while now. If you're just testing lists, it's not bad. But if you're looking at this is something that you would want to take to a tournament at some point, I highly recommend looking at it and list pairs.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Is trying to build any list now, because that's what I'm trying to do going forward. Is trying to build everything in a list pairs, because man, it really puts a limit on what you want to put in there. It really makes you think. I take that extra step to think.
Yeah, well, and it's also a matter of, if it's a friendly game or it's just a pickup game and you're not really you're just messing around with something, then it's not bad. And you get to play with, quote, all of your toys. But when you go into a tournament, or even if you're pushing to be competitive at any point, you really need to learn to play with play with the restrictions that have been placed on you. So you have your one list. So if you, for example, this Kartiv list has Ion and Holt in it, that means that you don't have Ion and Holt available for another list. And when you build that one and you look at it going, ooh, I really need Ion and Holt in here just to turn them on, or turn on damage, or this is my Minoth drop or whatnot, to give the magic weapons to get around the choir. Then if you go, oh well, I have Ion and Holt in this list, can I really afford to take them out of it? Something like that.
Yeah, it was for the most part. I mean, the original list when I first started it, I think, was literally just Karchev and 11 Mad Dogs, and then I've been kind of whittling down to answer some questions that I thought the list would struggle with. But yeah, I guess the next evolution is, now that I've created some sort of template for a Mad Dog list, what can I pair it with? Take it the next step to the pairing level.
Mm-hmm.
That's so many Mad Dogs, dude.
Well, it was 11.
Well,
now it's only 6.
all I gotta say is, hey, you have fun putting those together and painting them.
Well, the model isn't even out yet, so no concerns there.
It'll come out eventually.
Truth. All right, Solus, what about you? You got any lists you're thinking of?
Nothing terribly exciting. I'm still trying to make the twins work for Legion. I think I have extended my win-loss ratio with Epic Abbey to somewhere around 75-7, which is ridiculous.
That's awesome.
And I've got a couple lists that I want to try with Retribution. I own everything for Raven Tier 3 with all the Mage Hunters, Mage Hunter Strike Force, because I find that list just absolutely amusing. And I've wanted to play it for a while. Eviros Griffin Spam, because again, I find it amusing, and I've wanted to play it again for a long while here. Kalissa Force Wall, just to give that a try and see how I feel. And that way I'm not straying too far away from, running all of the beasts and or all of the warjacks. So I've got a couple of ideas. I have no idea how they're going to pan out, but I'm excited to see how it goes.
Nice, cool. That's exciting. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing that. Now that I'm further away from you guys, I'm more excited to see the battle reports and just seeing all.
You're just excited that you're no longer here, so you don't have to play against it.
Dude, it's really demoralizing going in and playing against things like that. It makes me sad.
I mean, it's not like I know what I'm doing with the lists in the first place. I would actually have to know that to be considered a threat. But yeah, sure.
All right. I guess for me then. So one thing I've been looking at is I really want to play Darius again. So I've been looking at Darius's theme list. I think it's called Test Run.
Is that the one with Stormwalls in it?
Yes, it is. Thanks for asking. I'm trying to look at actually the exact name of it, but yeah, I'm pulling it up right now so I can actually look at what I have so far. It's called Field Test. So pretty much Sorry, what?
Nothing. It was just you're rambling with amazing radio.
Heck yeah, dude. That's what I do. I'm like the greatest. Anyway, so for Field Test. So for Warjacks, it's any non-character Warjacks. Units, pretty simple. It's Field Mechanics, Rangers, Stormblades, and Stormsmiths. Solos are Squire, because Squire is awesome. Stormblade solos and Stormsmith solos. And what I'm really excited about this is pretty much you need to have at least one Stormwall, which obviously you're going to. And then one unit of Rangers, and then as long as you have 2 or more Warjacks with Armor 19, all your Warjacks with Armor 19 or more gain +2 speed during your first turn of the game, and for each Stormwall in the list, you get 1 Stormsmith Stormcaller for free of cost. So pretty much with this list right now, I have, I'm taking a pause here because I'm going to cut this out. Alright, I'm going to have Darius, Squire, 2 Stormwalls. Right now I have 5 Stormsmiths because why not? And I have a unit of Mechanics, and right now I have 2 units of Rangers. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the 2 units in. I like the fact that everything's going to be moving up quick, but I don't know. I'm not sure if the second unit of Rangers is beneficial or not.
What else can you use the 5 points for, though, is the question.
I can put Stormblades into the unit. I can put Stormblades in there, and I could drop the mechanics and one Stormsmith Stormcaller to put in the unit attachment. And I'm just not sure if that's like a good idea or not. I don't know. Maybe we should play it a couple times and see. I just don't. I'm excited about it because it's Storm Smiths and Storm Walls for days, and if you don't kill one, I can pop my feet and bring it back to full health, which is kind of awesome.
You've got this real fetish with Stormsmiths.
Dude, I do. Storm Smiths are the shit. They are awesome.
Sure. You know, it's cool when my Deathstalkers shoot them in the face. So yeah, it's awesome when that happens.
Yeah, nobody likes your Legion. Okay, they're mean. They're rude. Nobody likes them.
They are super friendly, and they just want to give you hugs.
Dude, hugs with the bolts and the death is not a real hug. That's pain.
You know, pain, hugs. It's kind of the same thing, right?
I think back to the list, though. I think you're really going to want to give it a try before you go dropping the Stormblades in. I mean, I see where you're going with the Stormsmiths, but...
I'm not super excited about Stormblades without the UA.
Yeah, so it becomes a situation of drop the Rangers for Stormblades, but then you also have to drop other stuff to make the Stormblades effective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my issue too, is if I had the Stormblades, I'd almost just use them as cannon fodder, so people would shoot them to try to protect my Storm Walls, because the Storm Walls are going to be able to remove a decent amount of stuff. I think the list is going to have an issue with probably a lot of high armor, but the Stormsmith solos, they could definitely remove like solos and stuff like that, because they don't care at all about defense.
You have 2 Storm Walls. Why are you worried about armor?
Well, and that's the thing is, I feel, I don't know. I want to put it on the table. I don't know. And what's nice is the Rangers, they're going to give me an effective Mat 8, which is pretty awesome. I mean, sorry, not Mat 8, Rat 8, which is pretty awesome.
Well, the only issue with that I see is that, I mean, it's going to benefit them and it's themselves, and it's going to benefit the Storm Walls. It's not going to benefit the Callers, because the Callers aren't rolling rats; they're rolling skill checks. And I mean, I guess one of the issues that I also have with taking out Storm Callers is you've got 2 Storm Walls, and they're both going to be dropping Storm Pods every turn. So every single Stormsmith gets to triangulate every single turn.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that? That's awesome.
But you're talking about taking Stormsmiths out in order to put more Stormblade elements in.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay.
I one Stormsmith being able to triangulate. I'm shooting from the hip here. There's no factorial evidence to it or anything like that. But one Stormsmith being able to triangulate 2 turns feels like it's going to get more damage done than a 1 or 2 Stormblades.
Theoretically, yes, assuming that you can pass your skill check. I will say that from the other side of the table, Stormsmiths are really fucking annoying, and they tend to be my first target of opportunity. Like, if there's something else that has to absolutely die, I'll leave it alone. But if I can kill a Stormsmith on my turn, I will absolutely do so.
You know, I feel like Gaston feels that way. I played a list kind of like this against him once, and Nissia was like half an inch short of killing a Stormsmith. So the Stormsmith just raised his staff up, rolled under the skill check, and fucking killed her. And he was so angry. It was awesome.
Well, I mean, I had a game against Fort the other day where, had he rolled better on his skill checks, he would have freed up his Storm Lances and charged into the bulk of my army with them, and I would have been very, very unhappy. But as it was, I pulled the Saren Rias feet turn and cut Striker in half.
That's just rude. That's not nice at all. You're a bad person.
I was super excited. There's also I had a Stinger spawned from the pot who one-shotted a Armor 25 Storm Lance.
Jesus, that's ridiculous.
I was greatly amused.
All right. Well, here, you know what? Let's start wrapping this thing up. So we're gonna go to questions. So this pretty good question comes from us from one of our listeners, Bronx. He asks, "Do you think tier lists has put Warmer Hordes in a better spot or worse?"
Adark, you want to start?
So I don't necessarily feel like themeless, themeless I don't feel like they've necessarily hurt or hindered the game per se. I think that there are a few outlier theme lists that the more competitive players have leaned on heavily, and I feel like many of them are leaned on because of the point reduction that they provide. Because I hear when you can play with more points than your opponent, it's a better time for you. But I don't think they've necessarily hurt or hindered the game per se. I think what we have is a scenario where currently right now the national meta is a bit up in arms about theme lists, and I don't think it's necessarily theme lists as a whole. I think it's merely the individual theme lists that are problem children that are overshadowing the others. Because, like, when was the last time you saw somebody just raffle stomping the table with the Constance Blaze Signar theme list? There's nothing wrong with that theme list. It's a perfectly good theme list. It's actually kind of entertaining to watch, but it's not necessarily this hyper competitive streamlined theme list that's giving you +5, +10, +7 11 points, or giving a huge swing. I think Privateer Press is aware of some of these outlier theme lists, and I imagine that will come a time where these theme lists will be drawn in to in line, or maybe tapered down some. But as a whole, I don't think that there's been any negative improvement or positive improvement. I think it's just another opportunity for you to play a list. If I was forced to pick one side, I would say that theme lists are probably a boon, because there are some times where players are looking at a caster and they're just like, I have no idea where to take this caster. Like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing with it. And sometimes those theme lists give you a starting point where you can be like, okay, the theme list isolated down my choices. I made a list, I played it a couple times, and now I know where the list is having issues, and I develop it and I develop it, and now I take it out of the theme because I think it can be better out of the theme, and I continue to develop it. So I think themeless can be a start for some people. So I guess it's more of a plus than a negative for me.
What about you, Solus?
Uh, hold on. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to say this.
Yeah, so you don't piss too many people off.
Well, the problem is I feel like I have a very unpopular view of things in general. I have the mindset of, if you want to bitch about it, learn how to beat. And I kind of feel like with the influx of certain other hobbies, or as people making mass exodus from certain things, they come into here, they come into the War Machine community and go, oh well, I'm just going to play this because it is obviously winning, and it's easy to play. And then you get the guy, the people, and then if they go and do well, especially the top players, people will look at them and go, oh well, they're playing this, so it is obviously the only way to play this faction or this list or this caster, and that's all they do. So that's why I feel like we have an influx of only the quote top tier theme lists being represented at tournaments. And I mean, I will freely admit that I play tier lists, and I have done well with tier lists. And I really am looking forward to playing a couple of them. But at the same time, I kind of feel like if that's all you want to do, then if you just want to play the quote top tier lists, and you play somebody who has been tracking the stats and tracking the meta, and come with a severely hard counter to your list, you're going to lose horribly, you're going to complain, and you're going to quit the game. And I honestly am not going to be sad about that, because if you can't think for yourself, you're going to have a really rough life. So I don't know. I'm sure there are arguments for and against theme lists. I would just give the answer of, if you're going to complain about it, learn how to beat it, learn how to play the game. Like I said, it's probably not the most welcoming opinion, I guess, or PC or anything like that. But honestly, if if any of our viewers have actually met me, and I'm sure you guys know, I don't tend to pull punches very often, and I'm very blunt. And yeah, so if you don't like it, I will not apologize for that.
Nice. All right. So we're going to wrap it up right here. Do you guys get any last words before we sign out?
Just a caveat onto the theme list discussion. As a troll player, and I'm calling out to all the troll players who may be listening to this, please be prepared for Ruins of War and Elemental Evolutionarism to be nerfed. It will happen. Accept it. I've even started talking with War Machinist and a couple of the other troll players in the area to look for non-tier versions of Kalandra and Doomshaper 1. And honestly, I kind of agree with Solus after kind of looking into it. I think Kalandra outside of tier can be a bit more threatening. Obviously, having 11 extra points is amazing, but the nerf is coming. Prepare yourself. Don't get caught behind the bat. Be in front of it and be prepared for it.
I fear the Kalandra matchup a lot more. Doesn't matter what I'm playing. I fear it much more if she's out of tier. If she's in tier, I just sort of look at it, giggle, and go, okay, well, I can probably kill you.
You know, the good news is, though, at least it won't be for another 6 months until it gets nerfed.
That's not true, actually, because this just recent errata was late. So it's going to be less than 6 months before we see the next one.
Yeah.
What are you clicking?
Oh, yeah.
Solus has been hobbying this entire time, so we're listening to him, his gravel box and his paintbrush and everything else this entire podcast.
Yes. Enjoy my hobby sounds. Hey, at least I'm doing hobby stuff. I've been doing homework all day, and I wanted to shoot somebody.
That sounds like fun. I mean, not the shooting part. That's, again, another reason why I'm happy when I'm further away. There's less risk of me getting shot, which is pretty awesome.
You moved to Maryland, so...
That's true. You're right. The joke's on me.
Winning.
All right, guys, that's our time. So I want to thank everyone for listening to Turn Extension. Any questions, comments, or concerns, please put them up on our Facebook page. You can you can send them to Twitter as well. Our Facebook page is Advanced Maneuvers Battle Reports. And Solus, what's our Twitter?
At Advanced Maneuvers.
At Advanced Maneuvers. And thank you guys very much for listening. Hope you had a good time.